Isn't it nice if you just drink your water and don't have to worry about quality?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually our social mentor DoWell, we're working to educate Chinese residents about the water problem. Imagine living in rural China, where the rivers and lakes are polluted, and your only drinking water comes from a shallow well. And the only way for you to find out if the water is safe is to drink it and see if you get sick. That's a problem of 17 million Chinese rural residents. So how do we help them address the issue? DoWell, we offer them an affordable and easy-to-use water testing kit that help them to identify and analyze the 10 most common bacteria and chemicals in their drinking water.
And then we're going to provide actionable knowledge to improve the identified issues in their water through our careful analysis and effective communication methods. In this process, we're building local relationships and collaborating with strategic partners in this space. And what we found is that this really enables residents to take an active role in the management of their water. We really want all global citizens to become their own water expert. And this is something we're really passionate about. We'd love to speak with you further about, not just for the positive social impact that we can make together, but also for the unique opportunities that exist in this multi-million-dollar market. So I'd love to give you my card and set up a time to discuss with you.
Cool. Nice.
Do you have any questions for us?
So it's for China specifically now. I mean, you guys are going to test it out in other.
Yeah,
So I mean, the 10 things you're testing in China will change per location, I assume.
Well, so the 10 bacteria is the most common bacteria worldwide that is found in water. So that's where we're going to start. There's potential to grow beyond that to more complicated chemicals that we can find as common within drinking water.
And how are people in rural areas going to get your product? I mean, is it like in the center of the village, or are you guys want to
We'll meet with them face to face.
yeah, we're really providing that in-person interaction, really going to town centers, make it really accessible for them so they can easily make their purchase.
And the goal is to build the trust with them that we are a trusted source for their water.
So, I mean, I don't know much about China. How would be involved or interested to kind of keep in touch with that and kind of be more involved eventually?
As a resident or as
Yeah, as an investor.
Absolutely, we'll love to talk about it.
Okay, great.
All right, so as you know, we are DoWell, and we are Feng Shu, myself, Sarah, and Andy will be here with us today. So just to recap, our core offering is water testing services to rural Chinese residents and then educating them about the opportunities to improve their water quality. So let's dive a little bit into this service a little bit more. The first touch point we have is this knowledge and learning that's happening where we will meet with them in their local village and connect with them about educating them about their water and then providing opportunities to do something about it. So that's where we will sell the water testing kit, which provides some few details on how to test their water, how to analyze it. So they will go through a couple of decisions on price, quality, etc. Decide if they want to purchase the kit, then take it home with them and they can test their water themselves. They will get the results immediately. And then we will send them a text message and to remind them to come back to the booth the next day, where we will talk to them and educate them about their water with their results. And this is sort of a recurring loop where we plan to provide continuous management of their water, so it's not just a one-time thing. A secondary layer of this business model is in this post-testing support. We believe that it's not enough to just provide results on this, but then provide actionable knowledge that connecting them with individuals and entities that are already in this space providing solutions for them. So we will provide recommendations tailored to their needs. The third layer is really a more long-term vision, but providing data based on the water quality information that we are getting and selling this or providing this to government agencies, NGOs, and other entities who are working in this space that might help them improve their services as well. So if we zoom out a little bit, take a look at the ecosystem, what I just described is the DoWell service model here, and that's where we'll have the DoWell management team connected with local and regional teams, really provide that local engagement and that connection and build that trust there. First, we source from our suppliers, and that really consists of our water testing equipment, data management software, and vehicles. And that's a simple transaction. We give them money, they give us the supplies. We then take those supplies and we transfer that to the local and regional team where they will provide the service. They will do the local community engagement, sell the kits with the water testing services. And this is, as I mentioned, a recurring thing. So we envision this either a subscription service or maybe bundled service where they can test their water 4 times a year or 2 times a year, depending on what their needs are. And we will keep checking in with them about how their water is improving. That second layer I mentioned is the solution-driven partnerships, and that's where we will partner with entities that we've identified that will be able to help improve their water quality, whether it's purification or transportation. We will have set up those partnerships, and we will connect them with the residents. And the third layer that I mentioned is the data-driven clients, and that's also a fairly simple transaction where we provide them the data over a long term. They provide us money and also relationships, and we are able to build off of their trusted network in the local communities there. So then part of the value that we're also providing, in addition to the educational services that we're doing, is really connecting entities that already exist in this space together into a holistic ecosystem with DoWell at the center and managing the entire system.
So this is how our ecosystem map fits into our business model. Not going to go into detail with this, happy to come back. Just to call out, our primary customer really are rural residents in China. But our team also recognizes a huge potential in urban cities, which we might tap into later in our business development. And the value we're providing to rural residents really is information about their water quality, either giving them the peace of mind or providing them with solutions with the problems identified. We're cultivating the local engagement and ensuring them a long-term health benefits to it. And of our revenue model, we are capturing value by making our testing kit sales, subscription fee for the long-term users. We're making a profit by capturing the commission fee by selling products for the water solution companies, as well as our data platform. Take a look at our competitive landscape. We've identified competitors who are selling testing kit, agencies who are doing the testing labs, as well as government department agencies doing the tests. Also, we consider bottled water as our competitors as well. And the blue one you see is us, DoWell, and we're putting all the players into one space. The criteria are looking at, are they providing actionable knowledge, or it's just result-driven, giving the data and that's it. Are they having local engagement, or are they remote? Are they collaborating with each other, or they're acting solo? So we believe we can differentiate ourselves by providing actionable knowledge, local relationship, giving widespread collaboration with different partners, and continuous support for the residents. How do we make sense financially? Our primary cost for the product include the testing equipment, the strips themselves, and the packaging. Also include a text message, as most residents don't have smartphone. We'll primarily using text messaging as our interaction method, as well as our travel and shipping cost. So that comes down to $3 per kit. Also include our startup cost, primarily software purchase, as well as vehicle purchase. At this stage, our team really is trying to identify the one right price for our product, so we kind of played around with the different assumptions. With a $5 price per kit, which we're making a $2 profit, we'll be making a profit by towards the end of year 2. And of course, with a $10 price, we're having a more optimistic scenario here, where we'll start making a profit actually by the end of year 1. Here's a detailed financial. Happy to come back to it. And we are visiting China next week to further validate many of our assumptions, mostly focusing on what's the right price point, how do we build trust among the communities, and also customer experiences in terms of how do we make them come back to our water booth, how do we cultivate that long-term kind of relationship. And we're happy to take any questions.
These are our prototypes that we've been testing out before.
For real? your testing centers, are those like in like every little village, or are they like how distributed are those?
We will start first small, and we will actually travel to the villages, and that's what the travel expense in each kit was included.
Gotcha.
Eventually, once we've established more of a presence, then we will start having centers that are regional based. So the idea is to then grow where you have a couple centers in each region that can outreach to smaller town centers.
It's just an interesting thing in the way you communicate to get a kit, test your water, come back. Could you switch it to where it's like bring a bottle of your water or something like that? Where, you know, it seems like a rural, like kind of peasant of China might not have enough time to like go to the center, go back, and then come again. Like that's a big economic kind of ask of them, right? So if you could almost tell them to maybe bring you water or something like that, where then they can kind of get testing on site, right? Because otherwise, a 2 trip is always a burden. It seems like, particularly in rural communities like that, trips are always a big issue, right?
That's a good point. I think when we go over there next week, that's going to be a good question to be asked, which lowers the barrier more, whether or not they can just pass by and take their kit with them and take it home, or if they actually bring their water.
And for us, we're really looking at facilitating our interaction with them in the town centers. And usually those villagers that live like around town centers, and they will go there frequently for their purchase, daily activities, so making it really easy for them to. Even like, I'm going to the market today, might as well step by the water booth.
Because yeah, it seems like it would work if you're, as long as you're like in the village with them, that's great. But if it is that regional type of thing, it seems like it might be an issue, right?
What's the kind of appetite to be a water expert versus I just want to know if this water is safe to drink?
We're taking the view on knowing if it's safe to drink as part of becoming an expert.
Sure.
And what we found is that a lot of the residents, they look at the water and they say, oh, it's specifically in China that we've spoken to, it's clear and it tastes somewhat sweet. It must be okay, but they don't really know, and there's actually a lot of illness that's caused by it. So this is sort of being taking a proactive role. An expert, I mean, they won't necessarily know the ins and outs, but
No, I know that. I get what I was leading to was, does it need to be that engaged in terms of all the different levels of pH balance and whatnot versus, you know, I'm thinking of like a pregnancy test, you know, it's like you're pregnant or you're not, right? This is water, can I drink it or not, right?
So, good job on the presentation. What you didn't convince me about in the presentation is that you'll be able to solve this problem. I mean, this has been this sort of long-term problem, and I was having trouble discerning for-profit, not-for-profit from your presentation, which I think we already got that question. You know, if it's a not-for-profit, I'm not sure why you expect this audience to care about this particular problem, because it seems like it's a Chinese problem. You know, if it's a for-profit, you don't really make a strong case for why I should care about it. So I just want you to kind of amp that up and amp up why there's a solution here.
I can make slightly related to that, maybe. And I don't know much about the space.
No, I wouldn't even lie.
What? I think that's cool. I can't remember the group that you had off to the right. Solutions. The solutions. Like, aren't they doing this as a part of their? I mean, they've got a solution, so I can't imagine that they're just like depending on somebody else to do the quantification.
Yes, but right now, most of the entities we've looked at, they're in Africa, they're in India. They don't have a widespread reach, and so we'll help connect them a little bit more with specifically residents in China that they are not reaching.
But okay, so is what they're doing in Africa, for example, are they just providing solutions like, hey, we don't know about your water situation, but if you happen to figure out if you do have a problem, we have a solution. Or I can't imagine them doing that. I imagine them going all the way down to say, hey, we'll help you figure out if you've got a problem. If you do, here's the solution. And so I guess I just don't know. I mean, it seemed like you were trying to position yourselves as that middleman of the data gatherer, and kind of, is there a problem or not, and we connect these solution providers, which I just would assume that or I don't know, so it wasn't clear whether you're competing with them at that point, or that part of their value proposition.
One of the values we're providing actually is by going into the town centers, having that interaction, so we're more acting as a channel for them to reach out, because China is so broad, and you've got to go into all these rural communities. It's going to be a challenge. And when we're doing the water testing
But
collectively.
we just started doing this in Africa, and Africa's giant rural too. I didn't, yeah. And sorry, I'll shut up now. But one other just simple comment. I thought the slides were, and I don't know how you guys are being instructed to do the slides, so this might be off base. The slides were very dense. It was hard to digest any
Yeah, too dense.
off the slides. I don't know, it's fine.
Yeah, I think you guys are in the moment where you mapped it out, but you've got a passion, you've got a cause, you've mapped it out, and now you got to productize it. You got to make it a product. In a lot of different ways. Like that thing is like a thing I get at a hotel and where I'd have like threads and needles in it. It doesn't look like it's going to go to a rural anywhere. It looks like it's going to be in Hyatt. And so like that's got to be productized. I think the competition, you've got to like figure out how that product exists in the competitive landscape. You've got to like figure out, oh, we're going to have a big database. Well, what is that product? What is that database? How is it built? How is it made? You know, there just needs to be a lot of things figured out to make this a viable product. And then like, watch out for little things like a financial that says software $100. I mean, I spent $100 on like, you know, maybe Microsoft Word, and then what other, you know, then what else you got? You know, is this whole business run off of Microsoft Word? So just those kinds of like numbers have to be real. They can't be those simple things that I can like, oh, that's ridiculous.
We're paying more than that each month for Canopy, and that Canopy is very simple in terms of.
So you lose credibility immediately, something like that.
Sorry, I had a question. How do you convince the locals to purchase this? Like, what's your go-to-market strategy in terms of, there's value obviously, but how do you convince them to drop money on this?
Several things, I think. When we get into the community, we're going to provide education. That part is raising awareness, like, oh, there's this type of thing we need to consider about water. That is one. And also we think curiosity is part of the why they make the purchase, because in general, there's a behavior tendency when there's a gathering, there's an out, people tend to gather around and checking out what is it. Unless, if there's early adopters, some people make the purchase, and they're from their community and neighborhood, people are more likely to follow them out. And also we're looking at to work with local administrators, kind of building up that partnership, also giving us a trust layer.
So the one thing I'm struggling with is you create awareness with this, but you don't really create a solution in terms of, okay, my water has issues right now, but what do I do next? I think
That's
what
where
I'm-
the partnerships
Okay.
come in.
Okay.
Jasmine?
So, yeah, to that point, I think, and I also like the idea about making it like bring a sample to us. I think that you'll do well to think a little more deeply about the experience of the person who is going to be buying this and making them feel comfortable that they have a resource and a company that cares about them and that has resources and solutions and people who will be there to support them. Like even just reading this, like it sounds quite technical and scientific, and if I put this little piece of paper and it comes back
More
with,
smiley faces.
with you know, something, and then I look and it's like causes blue baby syndrome, that's gonna totally flip me out, right? So I think if you can think a little more deeply about that experience, you might arrive at some.
I think to expand on the points made just there by Tim earlier, if the actual user using the product can't do anything to solve the problem, I'm also wondering if the model of trying to empower the users is the right one. Like maybe they bring a sample to your station and you test it with a higher end digital tool that costs a lot more and wouldn't be economical to sell to each person. But you can test it, it'll upload the data immediately to your servers, and you can provide them a go or no go, and if it's a no go, then you can immediately start finding a solution for them. But it seems like the actual commodity here could be ripped off by Chinese manufacturers like, super easily. And you know, they would still have to have the infrastructure of being in those locations, but this doesn't seem like it's, you know, it seems like a lot of people could do this if they were interested. Something like the solution where you have someone there with a tool that is immediately feeding into a database that is your asset, that seems like a clear value proposition to me.
Just knowing
one more
isn't
question.
quite enough.
Yeah.
What's the next step?
One more question.
So first, congratulations, and I think this is fantastic that you guys are tackling such a huge dilemma that needs to be managed. I mean, I think we all know that this is a huge problem that might not necessarily have a solution. And if I were someone in China, I would love this management tool of being able to know, can I drink this water now, or should I, right here, or should I go find something else? I am curious, maybe I missed it, if this is something that's reusable, or is it a one-time deal?
Yeah, I think we kind of also need to figure out in relation to how much is $5 in their currency and how much do people in these local villages drink. Because $5 could be an extreme amount of money for something like this. I might not even want it, and I might just die drinking the water.
Yeah, price is definitely something we very carefully thought about.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next one, you guys are going to present right here. Okay, lucky investor, you, sir. And